We'll be going over IRS Form 8821, Tax Information Authorization. This form is used by taxpayers that would like to authorize either an individual or corporation, firm, or organization or partnership to inspect and receive your confidential information, either verbally or in writing from the IRS. This is different from the IRS Form 2848, which is the actual power of attorney form. So some financial institutions, some financial planners, and some accountants may actually use 8821 as a way to get tax information from the IRS. So just keep that in mind. Your designee should be a tax professional, and there's a little bit of additional guidance that I would like to go over before we get into the form itself. So there are one of 3 different addresses, mailing addresses, for you to send this tax information form. It's a 1-page form. We'll go through it step by step, but to find where you should send this form, you'll need to look into the form instructions for your state. Depending on where you live, you'll send it to an IRS office either in Memphis, Ogden, Utah, or in Philadelphia. So be sure that you mail it to the appropriate address. So a couple of other things about this form. This does not authorize your designee to speak on your behalf, doesn't allow them to do anything with your information. Again, it is not a power of attorney form. It simply allows them to have access to information as specified. This form can also be used to revoke previously authorized or previously filed authorizations. If you're a fiduciary, you're not going to want to use this form. You'll instead want to use IRS Form 56, which is the notice concerning a fiduciary relationship. And the difference between a power of attorney and a fiduciary in the eyes of the IRS is that a power of attorney is acting on behalf of the taxpayer, while a fiduciary relationship means that the IRS will see the fiduciary as if he or she is the taxpayer himself or herself. So with an 8821 or a 2848, the power of attorney form, the designee has certain rights and certain powers as authorized by the taxpayer. Under IRS Form 56, the fiduciary relationship, it means that the fiduciary has those powers as well as taxpayers' responsibilities. So if you're submitting Form 8821 to disclose your confidential tax information for a reason other than to address or resolve a tax matter, for example, if you're applying for a loan and you need to release certain information as part of your income verification, then the IRS should receive this form within 120 days of the date that you signed it. This 120-day requirement does not apply for a form that's submitted to resolve a tax matter. So we'll start in box 1. This is the taxpayer information, taxpayer name and address. We'll use Forrest Baumover. Oops. Let's see, which state shall we be in today? We'll put the state of Georgia. And then we'll use my favorite tax ID number. And then for phone numbers, we'll use 867-5309. If there's a plan like a retirement savings plan, you would put that plan number in here, since we're not talking about a plan. We'll leave it blank. So in part 2, we're going to add one or more designees. So if you want to name more than 2 designees, then you can attach a list. So just make sure that if you're attaching a list that you check the box. So again, your designee will not receive forms, publications, or other materials as part of the correspondence that the IRS sends to you. They'll simply receive the correspondence. So if you want your designee to receive copies of all communications sent to you by the IRS, you must check this box right here. And only 2 designees can receive copies of notices and communications. If you attach a list, you cannot select a designee to receive copies of notices and communications. So again, if you're going to pick 2, put the 2 in here that you want to receive copies of notices and communications from the IRS. So if your designee has a CAF number on file, he or she will probably enter this information. And most tax professionals should have a PTIN. That's their preparer tax identification number. So we'll just put this in as in John Doe, who lives on 321 Any Road, Anywhere, Georgia. And then we will leave this blank. If you leave that blank and there is not a CAF on file for that person, then the IRS will generate a CAF number. So you can, if there is no CAF number, you can simply write in none, and then the IRS will issue a CAF for that person. Your PTIN, I'm checking really quick to take a look at my PTIN, and there you go. It's been a long time. I forgot how many digits the PTIN has. This is not my real PTIN, but it'll do. So if this is a new address, telephone number, or fax number on file, you'll check the appropriate box. We'll check that all of this is new information, and then we'll move on to section 3. So in section 3, we're talking about tax information that you are authorizing your designee to access. So if you check the box, that means that your designee can access your records through an intermediate service provider. It probably does not mean much to you, but it will mean a lot to them if they're a tax professional. So you cannot put any, all, or any information like that. You have to be specific in the type of tax information, the years or periods, the form and the numbers, or the specific tax matters. Now, you can say things like for example, type of tax information. You can put more than one. So income tax, employment, and payroll tax, for example. And then you could put, let's say you have a form 1040, you might have 1040 or 941, and let's just put in that you have an S corporation, right? So this probably wouldn't apply to every single tax situation, but you can put in multiple tax form numbers, but you do have to be specific on what type of information you're allowing this person to have access to. Now, you cannot put all years or all periods. However, you can put multiple years or multiple periods. So you can do something like 2007 through 2021. So, but again, you can, and then specific tax matters, you can leave this blank if you want. If you are not limiting your designees access to these numbers within these periods, then you can just put not applicable. And this means that within these parameters, income, employment, and payroll taxes on these tax forms from 2018 to 2021, the IRS is to allow your designee to have access to all of this information. So, if you do not authorize the use of an ISP, an intermediate service provider, your designees can still obtain your tax information directly from the IRS by using the IRS eServices transcript delivery system. To explain to you a little bit more about what an ISP is, intermediate service providers are privately owned companies that offer subscriptions to their software or services that your accountant, for example, can then use to either retrieve, store, and display your tax return data. So instead of getting this information directly from the IRS through what's known as a tax transcript, the ISP provides an additional level of service for your tax designee. So they are independent of the IRS, which is why you have to specifically authorize the IRS to release your records through an ISP. If you're concerned about a trust issue, the IRS has their own guidelines and enforcement methods to ensure that your data is properly protected by the ISP. And they're pretty high levels of protection. So if you want to move down to item 4, specific use not recorded on the centralized authorization file. So there are certain authorizations that are recorded on the CAF. And if you check this box, then this means that you're authorizing some sort of use that's not listed in the instructions. So if you wanted, so for example, if this form is being submitted for a specific use that the IRS is not going to report on the CAF, then you would check this box. Most likely, your designee will tell you whether or not this box is checked or whether it should be checked. For example, if you need to disclose information to a loan company or to an educational institution, that's a specific use that's not recorded on the CAF. So anytime that your tax information is released for a specific purpose, it's captured on the CAF system. It's the centralized authorization file. And anytime it's released to something because of your specific request that doesn't really have anything to do with your tax situation, then this would be not recorded on the CAF. Now, if you check this box, this means you're authorizing someone to receive your information, which kind of nullifies line 5. So that's why if you check the box in line 4, you skip line 5, because line 5 is your either retention or revocation of prior tax information authorizations. So if the box in line 4 is not checked, anything that you have filed will automatically be revoked unless you check line 5. So if you check line 4, then you don't do anything with line 5. If you check line 5 but not line 4, then you will have to attach a copy of the previously filed tax information authorization, the previously filed 8821 that you want to retain. So for example, if you're adding someone to the tax information authorization, but you want to keep the old people, like if you're working with an accounting firm and they're adding an additional accountant, then you might need to file this. Your accountant will probably prepare all of this so that it's in order, and then they will submit it with a copy of your previous 8821. And then at the bottom is the field for the taxpayer's signature. So that we can't see that, but basically you will sign it, you'll date it, and then you'll print your name. And if you're acting on behalf of a company or as a trustee, then you'll write your title. That's all we have for this video. If you want more information about how to complete this form, you can check out our article, which you can find on teachmepersonalfinance.com. Simply type in IRS Form 8821 in the search bar, and our article should appear. If you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please post them either in the comments section or you can send me a personal email. Thank you very much.